What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have an album review for you. And honestly, in terms of this week, granted, very slow week, this is probably my most anticipated album for this week, or rather EP in this case. I've been a fan of this particular band for a number of years just because, I don't know, they create chaos and fucking riffs, and they're kind of hard to describe, but I love them for it. So today we are going over the latest offering from Carbomb, Tile's Whispered Dreams. This also comes out on the 1st of August, and this is an independent release, which this band's release history is predominantly independent releases. Their debut album, Centralia, came out on Relapse Records, and since then, I think they've had one other album that was, I believe, like at least distributed by a label, but outside of that, all their stuff is independent. This band formed in 2000 in New York City. This is, I believe, their first EP, though, on Spotify it's listed as a single, whatever. They do have 4 full-length albums. The only one I own is Centralia, just because I kept looking around for their albums in record stores, and, well, I didn't realize they were independent. So needless to say, I'm going to be spending some time on their Bandcamp picking up all the stuff that I've been missing. And to describe this band's sound, mathcore definitely fits, though I would say this has a lot of, like more metallic elements. Like it isn't, solely in the vein of bands like, I'd say like Dillinger Escape Plan, Botch, Coalesce, stuff like that. There's a lot of like early Meshuggah to this, bands like Candiria, I would even say Ion Dissonance as well. It's heavy, percussive, it's chuggier than hell, and once again, they are demonstrating their technical prowess as well as their just flat-out brutality. I saw these guys years ago open up for Gojira on the Magma Tour, and they were just absolutely insane live. Their music is jarring, it's shifty, lots of like just heavy, punishing staccato riffs, and weird like stretchy, elastic melodies and riffs, like lots of sliding and kind of bending the notes and just creating weird effects therein. And all of that is on display on all 3 of these tracks, and I might as well just track by track it because, again, it's only 3 tracks, and it's only about 12 minutes long. So Blindsides is how it kicks off. I believe that was the first single, which apparently has a really weird, like, anime-ish video that I need to sit back and watch. But after you get past the electronic hum that kind of builds it up, you get into these just punishing staccato chugs. That is kind of like, the baseline sort of like riffing style that is on here, but they're done very cleverly. Like you get these weird ascending and descending melodies. They're not just like open chord chugs, and then how they transition into like noisy, dissonant riffs, and again, these very elastic, kind of like stretchy melodies. It creates this sort of like riffy fucking chaos on the album. And everything on here is heavily syncopated. The drum work on here, I mean, it's fantastic. Like lots of like early Meshuggah nods, like, I would even say, like, before we even got to, like, nothing, like, Chaosphere, Destroy, Erase, Improve. You have fits of blast beats on Paroxysm and the title track, too. So there's, like, a little bit of, like, I would say, like, kind of, like, death metal kind of woven in there as well. But even spots of melody, like, the opening track, Blindsides, after one of their crazier than hell transitions where it's fiercely off time, you get into like a nice melodic sort of bridge. There's some clean singing on it. The melody itself is surprisingly catchy, and then it just slams into you with another set of just these punishing, very percussive riffs again. Both Blindsides and the title track, you kind of get a combination again of those like jagged, almost kind of like jazzy transitions you'd expect from like Candiria, but with a little bit of that like kind of like lush melody, kind of like gentiness that you get from like Animals as Leaders. The lead work on here honestly reeks of Frederick Thorndahl. Lots of like twisted tapping and just, again, like very distant but still very catchy melodies, and it fits the music absolutely perfect because, I mean, again, this is just chuggy, shifty, twisted, technical fucking madness, but it's not without like its really hooky moments. Like as bludgeoning and as heavy and as technical as this is, there's a lot of solid grooves on here. Not just like the off time, like stuttered ones, which there are plenty on here, but like just good, solid, chuggy grooves, whether they're like heavily syncopated or just straightforward. Like Paroxysm has probably the most normal moment on here in terms of something being a little bit more contemporary. It's kind of like just a straight up kind of hardcore breakdown. A flat out chuggy riff over 4/4 time drums. The vocals stayed right on the riff. Like it's kind of like just a little throwback moment before they kind of eventually morph into something else. And, you know, transitions are just nuts on here. You could be kind of like chugging along to like some weird off time moment and then go headlong into blast beats. And then they do these dramatic slowdowns. And honestly, those moments are where those, you know, very elastic riffs are like the most effective. A breakdown should always have a punch, but with these like, you know, stretched out riffs and how they ascend and descend, like this is like, you know, watching the wind up to the punch that's about to make contact with your fucking teeth. Actually, going over my notes, I kind of biffed there. It's the title track that has that straight up hardcore groove that is a pure throwback. But there's so much like chuggy, vicious energy on here. You can get the moments kind of confused. But all of it strangely gels, like nothing felt too repetitive. Even in the frequent use of the more elastic, stretchy riffs too, they put weird accents on them to just kind of make them stand out a little bit more. Like sometimes they sound like, you know, I mean, if you live near a busy street and you have dickheads that like to fucking race their ninja bikes at like, you know, 3 a.m., you know, it kind of sounds like that. But they're also clever about breaking those moments down, like, you know, the opening chugs on Blindside. Like, it's still that same elastic sound, but it's broken up into like staccato riffing rather than just, you know, hitting one note and stretching it out. Also, the production here, excellent sounding. The guitars have such a disgusting tone. Like, it is deep, it is heavy. Every riff, every chug on here has some like just discernible weight to it. The drum production, I think, is fantastic. That snare sounds absolutely amazing. And the vocals too sit right out front, but they don't feel like they're trying to like fight with the guitar for space. Everything kind of has its own space. And vocally, I think this is pretty damn cool too. The clean vocal sections are nice. You also have some, you know, fun like atmospheric whispers and some of the transitions. And the dude's just got a good, solid, hardcore fucking roar. That's kind of where it hangs out for the most part. You do have some like deeper, more, you know, guttural vocals that show up, but for the most part, just a good roar. And his cadences, I think, are really clever too. They're not always right on the riff, which honestly would be kind of difficult with as much as like this shifts around in terms of like tempos and, you know, time signatures and such. But I like the dude's delivery overall. Yeah, pretty much everything on here I really enjoyed. My only complaint really is that it is only 12 minutes long. I really want more album to talk about here. At the same time, though, if this is a appetizer to the main course that is hopefully arriving in the future, really can't complain much. And all 3 songs in here I thought were absolutely killer. So yeah, I'm just going to get down to a rating here because this review might end up being longer than this entire EP. So I'm going to go ahead and give this 4 stars. I think this is an excellent listen. It's spastic, it's explosive, it's technical as hell, but also brutal. It has, you know, some good spots of melody, some good straight up, just chuggy, more like conventional moments kind of woven into. It also escapes the trappings of sounding too much like a particular style. Like, again, this has elements of like botch and coalesce, but it doesn't necessarily sound like them. And it has like djenty staccato riffs, though I wouldn't compare this to any djent band outside of, you know, maybe Meshuggah. So it's definitely comparable to like a lot of bands that do more technical, like mathcore style music or math metal, but it's like kind of homogenized. They really kind of made this their own. Their unique riff structure and melodies, I think that kind of just makes this stand out, and I'm excited for, you know, hopefully a full length in the future here with these guys. And for the record, I've already ordered this EP. I'm going to probably order more of their stuff in the future, but yeah, this is a pretty solid offering. And I believe it has been about 6 years since their last album, so hopefully this is a teaser for things to come. But yeah, if you're a big fan of, again, Ion Dissonance, Botch, Dillinger Escape Plan, Meshuggah, I'd even throw in a more obscure band like Into the Moat in there too. Stuff like that. Check this EP out. I only wish it was longer, but this was a pretty badass listen. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They are only 99 cents, and our Lone Perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we do need to get back to, but we do need to wait for John to get, you know, off of his overtime schedule, because I want to make sure he's included on that. But memberships are the main way to support the channel, and there's a join button down below for you to smash, hit, kick, spit on, do whatever you want to it. Just, you know, clean up afterwards. And of course, Thank you guys so much for liking, subscribing, following. It means the world to us. Again, we're kind of like stuck in this doldrum in terms of like, waiting for some free time so we can do some of the bigger videos we wanted to do. But we will eventually get to them. I'm working on some other stuff as well, more collection updates, and, I'm kind of toying with some ideas for some topical stuff as well. Either way, we're going to make sure we get you covered in terms of content, because that's what we do here, and we appreciate the living shit out of you guys. So one more big thank you, because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.